If you're trained in dance, you're really being trained to shut up. You're putting yourself in positions that are truly going to stretch you. They're not going to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
I don't believe in balance. I don't believe that that is a real achievable thing. Did I have literally 525,600 breakdowns during rehearsal? Yeah.
What did that actually feel like when that was always in the back of your head?
I was battling these feelings of just like, oh my God, I know this is so right. But at the same time of like, can I do this? There were so many things happening that never made me lose sight of that goal, but I wasn't like choking it.
What are your thoughts on the line between really working on your strengths and growing, but then also trying to find the rooms that best fit you rather than changing yourself to fit into certain rooms?
I love that question because
Hello, welcome back. I wanted to take a quick moment to thank you so much for being here. Your support literally means way more than you will ever know. And good news, if you want to keep continuing to support the show, subscribing is completely free and it takes literally 3 seconds. This is the easiest way to support so we can keep growing, bringing in those amazing guests and just making the show better and better and better. So if you haven't yet, take a quick moment, subscribe below, and thank you so much. Let's get into the episode.
Khori Petinaud, welcome to Kicking It Real. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited. We're going to just warm it up because otherwise we'll get on so many tangents. But what have you been kicking it with lately?
I mean, I've been kicking it with Hadestown lately. That has been my life for the past 2 months, really.
2 months is so long, but also not long at all when you think about it, which is so great. And for you, it probably flew by in the blink of an eye, which we're going to get into. But what are you kicking to the curb?
This is a constant, daily kick to the curb, but I'm consistently trying to kick to the curb those voices that are like the imposter syndrome, like you don't belong, you're not good enough. Those things that just, the inner saboteur that likes to come up all the time.
Both inspiring and scary knowing people like you have those still. And that's one of my favorite parts about doing this show is just highlighting that and not to be like, let me show you people's insecurities, but also just, I think we're just so much more alike than we like to believe at times. I wanted to do a rapid fire. I've been implementing these of just questions for funsy for a second.
Yes. Okay.
If you had one word to describe Fosse style, what would it be?
Power.
Love. Okay. What was your hardest role to learn?
Dance captain swing.
What is the show you would do again in a heartbeat if they called you?
Bob Fosse's Dancin.
So good. It was so good. Favorite TV performance you've done?
Man. I would have to say it was Rent Live. That was so fun, even though we didn't get to do it in the way we thought we were going to. It just was, I was with some of my favorite people and we had an incredible time.
The people always do make it for real.
Yeah.
Your most intense audition?
I feel like my most intense audition was probably the very first replacement for Hamilton on Broadway. Obviously, everybody in that room was like, we want this job.
As they would. And it's such a dance heavy show in the best way.
Totally.
In the best way. But
totally. And it was so early on. Someone was leaving before the Tony Awards. It was a very unusual circumstance.
Favorite Rockette number or costume?
Reindeer.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on. Debut you were most nervous to make?
Probably Bob Fosse's Dancin.
If age, ability, anything was not a factor, what would be a role you would love to play?
I think I would love to play really any role in Sweet Charity. It's my favorite musical. I love it so much. And I would play any of those roles.
Any role. Just the show.
Yeah,
I love it.
the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the show. Okay, that's the end of my rapid fire. I wanted to start off kind of obviously around Hadestown because I'm also very obsessed with sharing the journey and the manifesting and all of it. And you best believe I had that Instagram post where you have the picture of your email 7 years prior about how you loved it and you were moved by it and that was your goal. And then literally, what was it? actually to the day 7 years later that you were working towards it. So I wanted to hear from you what it was like during those 7 years. Obviously, you had a lot of other work in between that. And what did that actually feel like when that was always in the back of your head?
It's funny. I feel like it might be one of the first times in my life, and I can say this now because it is happening. But it might have been one of the first times in my life where I felt like my grip was so loose on this goal. It didn't take away the depths to which I wanted this thing, but there were so many things happening in that time period that never made me lose sight of that goal, but I wasn't like choking it, if that
Like
makes
the death
sense.
grip. Yeah.
Totally. And I feel like there were so many things, like even just wanting to be on Broadway in the very beginning when I was non-union and doing the hustle, I was definitely strangling that goal a lot. There's a lot of goals that I can think about in my life that I was holding on very tightly to. And I think that because of how much time had gone by with Hadestown and because of how deeply I loved it, despite wanting to be in it. Like I just genuinely loved it as a fan. I loved watching it over and over and over again. I felt like the longer it took, the easier it was to release the grip because it started to feel like maybe this won't happen and that's okay. But like I'm so happy that this show exists. And I'm so thankful that I can see so many people that I respect and love and admire play these roles. And it just felt like a looser grip than I've ever had before.
I hear that too. And it's that weird balance of working hard and putting in the work, but also being open to other possibilities. Do you feel like because you had already debuted in Aladdin and had had your Broadway debut, and then you saw Hadestown, do you feel like maybe if you hadn't had that milestone yet, it would have been harder to maybe release that grip a little bit? Or was there an evolution from Aladdin to Hadestown?
Yeah, I think it definitely would have been harder had I not made my debut for sure. But I think, it's all relative ultimately because every experience that you have in your life, I believe, is in service to the person that you're becoming, the good, bad, and the ugly of it. And so I know that I couldn't be at this particular point in my life without every experience that I've had prior to this, with this goal kind of just being in the ether in the background. I don't think that it could have happened any other way than the way that it happened.
I love looking back and seeing all the whys. And I feel like you said, the older you get and the more experiences you have, the more you can trust and lean into that a little bit more because you
Yes.
have that proof of, okay, this is going to make sense one day, which also in that same Instagram post, you had the angel number 7, which I love that. How big of a role does faith, whether it's in God, in yourself, in the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, how big of a role does that play in your life and in your career?
A massive role. I mean, I grew up in the church and I've always believed that that my steps were ordered always. And I've always believed that there was a divinity to every step that I've taken in my life and that I've been protected. And I believe that, the prayers of my mother and my grandmother and my ancestors, all of those things I'm reaping the benefits of all of those prayers in my life right now. So I believe that very deeply. Has it always been something that I felt like has made things easier necessarily? No. um, uh, Definitely not.
Yeah.
And, I think like childlike faith versus when you experience really, really difficult things as an adult. I talk a lot about this or have talked about this on my social media before, like the pruning process of just like constantly refining different things in your life. And I feel like the having faith in something bigger than yourself is just another feather in the cap of helping
Yeah.
you navigate the really difficult things that happen in life. And it gives it more purpose and meaning. And so I never felt like anything I was experiencing was arbitrary, even though I definitely, hemmed and hawed and complained through many things that I experienced in my life. I thank God for having that connection to my faith and to spirituality in order to support, the difficulties.
I think it's the general consensus with anything when it comes to religion and faith too, where people, those people who are like, well, God would have let these things happen. But it's like you said, that trust and things coming together and things guiding you to where you're meant to be. I don't know. It makes it a little bit easier, I feel like, after the fact. Maybe not in it. It's still really hard. And you're like, this
Absolutely.
sucks. And just having that balance of this sucks, but also it's going to make sense one day.
Absolutely.
You have had a long vast career so far. And I already had mentioned Aladdin 2014, going from that debut to then Just in Time, where you were not only just debuting in the show, but Dance Captain Swing. What do you think the biggest growth factor or change was in 2014 Khori to that Khori who had that bigger responsibility?
Well, I think that 2014 Khori was definitely, and even before that, which is totally, I think, appropriate to the age that I was and the time period that I was in my life. But I was extremely self centered around the things that I was doing. And I think as an artist, there's an element of necessity to that because it does require so much of you to go after these big goals. And specifically as a dancer, because it's so 360, it's like we have to maintain this vessel not only for just like walking through daily life, but doing extreme things with our bodies every day. And it requires so much discipline and regimen and consistency that it requires you to be really, really self-absorbed to an extent.
Yeah.
And so, and so I was very just like obsessive about like everything, like what I was eating and just all the things. And I can't do this and I can't do that. Even just the things that I was doing, I felt like they were all about me and what I wanted. And when I think about 2025, 2026, Khori, how my mission and my goal around the things that I do has expanded so far beyond myself, especially becoming an educator as well, like understanding that my purpose is just so much bigger than like the things I want to do, that I have a bigger calling than just chasing after my own whims. And I feel really strongly and deeply connected to that in a way that is bringing me so much joy. I don't feel like I'm living for anyone else in any way, but I feel like everything that I do, I know that it has a more significant impact than what I felt like it did back then. It was about me, you know?
Do you think that there is a world, because I agree 100%, and there is that weird balance of having to be kind of self-centered and work and push because it's a competitive industry, but do you think there's a world where you could have, just anyone could have a little bit of both, or is it kind of just like that necessary evil of you have to have a period of life like that? I don't know the answer what I think about this either.
I don't know. I think that this maybe feels like this could maybe answer that question because whenever I do Q&As, like students will often ask me, especially when they find out that I'm a parent and I'm a wife and all of these different things, they'll always ask me about balance, this word balance. Like, you appear to have such balance and how do you have that? And I always say that I don't believe in balance. I don't believe that that is a real achievable thing. I think we spend all of life trying to get to that level point, but that it's not possible because something always has to give for
Yeah.
something to get. So there's always going to be a sacrifice. And I think that unfortunately, I feel like the narrative has now changed in our world today and somewhat in the dance industry as well, that is just like, you can just have it all. And like, it's all like available to you. And like, you just, just go after what you want and you can have the thing, the thing, the thing, the thing. Yes, and there's going to be sacrifice. So, for instance, career-wise, I've had an immense amount of success, and that's been incredible. Have I missed weddings? Have I missed funerals? Has my relationship with my husband struggled sometimes because of the sacrifices I've had to make for my career? Absolutely. Have I felt immense amounts of mom guilt since I've become a mom when I've had to struggle with like, career versus being home and not being able to put my son to bed every night? There's always a sacrifice. And I thank God that I have a supportive partner who's been able to sort of lift where I lack in certain moments. And we have been able to create a really beautiful harmony of moments when he knows that I'm going to be a little more like focused on my thing.
Yeah.
Like if opening a new show, like specifically with Just in Time, I can speak to that most recently because the jobs that I had were even more difficult and I had a lot of more brain space being used outside of work. I couldn't just go to work and then set it and forget it. It was like, no,
Yeah.
what did they change today? And all this kind of stuff. He knew that that was going to take up a lot of space that would normally be accounted for being home and like being very present. And so he really picked up the ball that I may have been dropping in that moment. And he's really supportive of that. There's just always going to be something that you have to be willing to let go of in a moment in order to achieve whatever.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in like the seasons of life, like exactly what you were describing. When you're in a new show, yeah, like you probably have literally zero brain cells left by the time you get home. And also the importance of, I mean, anyone in life, but especially performers, picking the right partner, I think is huge. I've been feeling this myself and someone who's not even currently performing. I think women in general, but especially performers, like often feel that you have to pick having a family or having a career, which you're obviously doing both, whether there's seasons in that or not. Did you feel that at all? Did you always know you wanted to be a mom one day, or did that kind of evolve?
I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. I didn't really know how that was going to work. But I do feel really thankful that I was able to see up close and personal a lot of motherhood journeys in the business and with close friends, a good portion of them in Aladdin, but also like when I went to Moulin Rouge, one of my ultimate icons of life, Bahia Hiba, who like I've looked up to her forever, and I got to watch her work up close and personal in all ways. And I think that though seeing women do it in real time was really the click for me of I already know I want to do this, but now I know I can do this
Yeah.
and that I'm capable of doing this. But, you know, there's so many things that are unknown. It's still like every motherhood journey is so individual to the child that you're birthing into the world. And so you just don't know what you're signing up for.
So scary.
Yeah.
Scary
Yeah.
and exciting. I think there is a difference between seeing it in person, like you said, close up, because we are, who we surround ourselves with. And it's so easy to see one bad example and be like, okay, well, maybe this is actually going to suck, or
Mhm.
vice versa, where you're like, okay, actually, I can make this whatever I want it to be. Do you have any other advice you would give to someone who is in that state of like, gosh, I don't know if I can quote, have it all?
You know, I think going back to sort of what we were talking about before, I think it's like if you're going into it with a knowing that there are going to be so many things that you're not prepared for. That as much as you want to be able to be like, I'm going to do this, because I can say like in the very beginnings, like when we were first starting to try for a baby, I think I said to you when we first started the call, I'm the queen of juggling. Like I love
Yeah.
juggling 7 million things. And like that is my essence. Like I don't know if you know anything about human design, but like I'm a manifesting generator. And like
Mhm.
we're the kings and queens of just like literally having 13 million ideas, and like we can do that and we function really high in that place.
Mhm.
And so I genuinely thought that like having a child was just going to be like another thing that I could juggle. And I was like, of course I can like add being a mother into the mix. Like that's just like another thing that I can do. And it was absolutely not that.
With you, because I'm like, I think that's what it is too, where I'm like, gosh, I think about the immense change that being a mother does, because it's not only like, yes, another human, but then your body's going through it, and like the energy levels and all of the things, which
Yes.
not that you can't do it all, because you can do it all, you,
Yeah,
Khori,
you can.
specifically, but just like trusting in that a little bit. Which I wanted you guys, I needed everyone to know this too. It's like kind of a fun fact that I was a quote rookie with you, because it's
Yes.
like kind of funny, like like it's like just funny for me to think about, even though like you had your like own, I think it was like a separate audition, because you're just that like booked and blessed. How was the Rockette contract different than others you had done, and ways that you didn't expect it to be?
Well, I think I should have expected this, but I didn't expect everything to move so quickly. I should have known that, but for some reason I just like assumed that it was like, yeah, like we're gonna, ease our way into this and like
Figure it
this.
out.
Yeah. And it was, and because I was like the only one out of all of us that had like not done the
Zero.
intensive. Yeah. And I had like absolutely no precision experience outside of just taking Danelle's class. Shout out to Danelle. When people ask me about my Rockette experience, I'm like, I feel like it would be if you were a hip hop dancer in an advanced ballet class and everyone's saying all of these words and terms and you have no idea what they mean.
I actually can't even imagine that. And I do say that to people where I'm like, it really is its own language. You have to
Yes.
really know what you're doing. I mean, dang, I mean, you held your own. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's giving like it's its own style. Like a cheek, and the helium, like all of these things were just like things that everyone was saying. And I was like, huh?
You're like, what number am I supposed to be on right
What
now? I don't even
number
know.
you're gonna do a 7-number travel? I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I'm literally like so confused. I felt like my brain was breaking, and I was like, I really like. I have been in the business such a long time, and I am humbled by this.
Wait, the math is so real because I'm like, listen, I promise I know the travel, but like I need at least another minute to comprehend every other detail you gave me and
Exactly.
then do the math and then like find
Exactly.
that. It's
Exactly. And
man, you
everyone
gotta be
else is moving, and you're like, ah.
you gotta be a good mathematician. That's funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because there aren't really like any speaking or like just like staging. Like you're dancing, or you're off. Like there's not really that like maybe downtime that you would have in a different show, which
Totally.
and then it's like also a beast of a season, which I obviously know from experience, but then you also had a torn hamstring the entire season. How did you manage to do that? And also I will say, because we weren't in the same cast, but anytime I would see you, you were always in good spirits though.
Thank you. I tried.
I think there were a few times where I could kind of like see it like behind your eyes a little
Yeah.
bit, but like you're like, I'm in
Yeah.
pain, but I just feel like handled it so well.
I mean, it taught me so much about, I had never had an injury. Like I'd never sustained an injury like that was so like, it just infringed upon everything. I had small injuries here and there, but nothing like that. And so it was really, really challenging. I was just so thankful for the line, to be honest. It was like the encouragement and support, and everyone was just so loving towards me and really just trying to help me stay in good spirits about it. And like ultimately, even though there was not one show that I did not in pain, I think just being in camaraderie with those women, and I think it's just something that every Rockette talks about, no matter what their experience was in any other way, that the women and that the core of being with these women is just around supporting each other.
Yeah.
And that was true. My experience of that was fully true, and I don't think I could have gotten through it at all without that. So
Gosh, that shows. It is really cool to see how everyone really steps up and supports, like quite literally physically and just like the mental part of it, which
totally.
I kind of wanted to compare that to the Hadestown journey you're on now. You did Rockettes for a year and like were injured, and not that you weren't a beautiful, amazing Rockette, because you were, but then you felt like this calling towards Hadestown, and it is feeling aligned and everything feels like it's like meant to be. What are your thoughts on the line between really working on your strengths and your craft, obviously, and growing, but then also trying to find the rooms that best fit you rather than changing yourself to fit into certain rooms or roles?
I love that question because I think it's like the crux of the thing that I feel so passionate about at this point in my life, because it's a very delicate line. And I do think that there's a time, like when we're talking about seasons, there is a season for exploration of what that is. And you owe that to yourself to put your toes in every pond and try to figure out, where are the spaces where I feel the most empowered? What is the work that's challenging me, that's pushing me, but that is also making me feel like I am standing in my truth? Who are the people that I want to be around when I'm doing said thing? Where do I feel the safest? All of these different things, but you have to explore in order to find that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to do that. It's important to let yourself be open to the many possibilities to how you can feel the feeling that you're after. Because really, every dream that we have is about a feeling. It's not really about the thing. It's about like, this is how I expect to feel when I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you're chasing the feeling. And if you can stay open to that, that means you can get the feeling in a lot of ways. So I'll say that first, is that if you're exploring, you want to stay open to how things can look, and they might look differently than what you anticipated. But then I also think that as you're growing and maturing in that, you start to really define for yourself what those different things are. And again, staying open to how they look. But now you're starting to feel like, oh, okay, I really, really love moving in this type of way that feels good to me. I'm still going to push myself in other areas, but in terms of what I'm going after, that I know I'm going to spend the majority of my time doing, I'm going to put myself in these spaces because these are the spaces where I feel like I'm flourishing the most. And allowing yourself then in those spaces to flourish. And I think for me, like that was really the defining factor in terms of where a lot of the success started coming was when I started to really define for myself those places while still pushing myself in other areas and being willing to grow. I felt like I'm going to keep pursuing the things that are feeling aligned and are making me feel most alive.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you need both. You need maybe not long term the things that don't make you feel good, and I think there's a difference between maybe misalignment and just growing pains a little bit as well, and like
Exactly.
learning the difference. I also love how you shared that your late grandfather instilled in you to, quote, stay curious about your art and never stop being a student, which I feel like almost just encompasses everything you just said. But do you credit your vast resume and just like your mindset on everything to that like early on belief that was put onto you?
I do. I do. And I still am a student always. I'm a student even when I'm teaching. I really, really live by that because I think that it allows you to stay curious. And I think that is the key to longevity in the business is that the moment you become rigid about your possibilities and rigid about what you're capable of is the moment you stop. I think even with motherhood, all the things, it's like when you continue to be like, I'm curious about how this is all going to work. That's how you continue to have possibility and expansion. But the second you make a decision that like, I can't do this, or this is never going to be, it's never going to look the way I want it to look. It's never going to work the way I want it to work. I mean, there's nothing that you can grow from that.
That's so real. Do you feel like you could define what, I don't know how I want to word this, the feeling that you have found that you are going after now? You've done the work and dipped your toes. Like, what is that feeling for you? So maybe someone else could be like, maybe that is what I'm looking for.
I think it is a really beautiful blend of, I think I might have said this in something that I wrote at some point about Hadestown, but I feel like it's such a beautiful blend of fear and constant navigating of like, can I do this? With like a very deep knowing that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. It's like a beautiful marriage of that because I don't think that growth is supposed to be comfortable. And so if you're putting yourself in positions that are truly going to stretch you, they're not going to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
And Hadestown is literally my ultimate dream. Did I have literally 525,600 breakdowns during rehearsal? Yeah.
It wouldn't be a good show if you didn't. I mean,
Exactly, because I was literally like, I was battling these feelings of just like, oh my God, I know this is so right. It's impossible for this not to be right. But at the same time of like, can I do this? Like, did I just hijinks everyone into thinking I could do this and I really can't? Just like so many, like this is so difficult, like the accordion and the coordination and the harmonies and then the turntables and just this, all of the things that I just was like, I feel so overwhelmed by this and I don't know if I can do it at the same time as knowing that I could do it,
gosh, yeah. And that takes like really, I think, the time and just being honest with yourself too, to be able to actually feel that. Because I mean, for me too, like looking back, obviously everything's harder in the moment, but you can kind of look back and be like, yeah, maybe I stayed there a little too long. And I was like trying to make that something that it wasn't supposed to be. How long did it take you to learn how to play the accordion?
I'm still learning, you know what I mean? And I'm on stage.
I literally had to Google. I was like, does she play this? It could be fake. You know what I mean? Like that could be fake.
Yeah, like
you never know.
We're playing. I play 6 songs in the show. Some are way more naked than others, just in terms of like how exposed I am in my playing. It is a real thing. And one of the other Fate that plays an instrument, she plays the violin, and she does actually play the violin. Being a musician is a part of being a Fate, and I always knew that. I've played the piano. My grandfather taught me how to play the piano, but it wasn't something that I was doing every day or like upkeeping or maintaining. So it definitely was like a restart of like remembering the fingering and just all the things with my right hand. And then the left hand is a whole nother thing.
I was going to say, yeah, because also you can't even like really see it. And
you can't look at
like,
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're,
it's
you're like, it's like, no, and
totally.
your face and your like words and your body. Yeah.
Totally.
I love that. My grandma growing up, anytime I would visit her, she would teach me like how to play, and I played clarinet so I could read music, but I'm always like, I need to get my keyboard from my parents' house. I want to learn, like, what a flex to be able,
Like,
but now
why
you have that
not?
flex forever. Yeah, you can just,
Yeah, like
you're
why
going to
not? And
be,
now I'm like, yeah, the second that I feel like really, really comfortable in the show, I'm like really wanting to learn the instrument. Like it is such a cool and extremely complicated instrument. My focus at the time was like, I just want to make sure that I know what I need to know for Hadestown. But I'm like, if I have all of this time to be in this show and hold this instrument, like, why not? Like, why not learn more?
it's quite literally there at your fingertips,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
love that. How much did you cry opening your first? It was like only a week ago. Was it exactly a
Well, it
week?
was on Tuesday. Yeah, like a week ago exactly. You know, I actually didn't cry that much on the day. I cried a lot before the day.
You like got it all out.
Yeah, I just was like, and I've also had so many moments on stage this past week, which is the antithesis of the role that I'm playing, because the role that I'm playing is supposed to be very, very detached from sentiment. As a fate, we really are like the most all-powerful, all-knowing. We don't really have feelings of just like, oh, that's sweet. Like there's never anything like that from the three of us. And I've really had to resist those feelings because I've had so many moments where I'm looking out into that house that I have sat in so many times as an audience member and just being in complete disbelief that I am on this side of the proscenium and that I'm like on the stage that I have watched for so many years and watched so many different companies and listened to so many different people sing these songs, and that like I'm on this side of it, and I'm actually on this side of it not in the way that I thought, because I definitely thought I was going to be in the ensemble. If I was ever going to be in the show, that I would be in the ensemble and that I would cover the role that I'm playing. I never even imagined that I would actually play the role. So it's just been really emotional when it hits me in those moments where I'm like, I'm actually like singing these songs like for real and like performing this.
Do you ever think about too in those moments of like the little girl in the audience like watching you? Then
Yeah.
you were watching the person before you, and now like there's someone watching you, which is
Yes.
I love those full circle moments of
Totally.
you're just you're doing the thing. Talk to me a little bit too about when you first saw the show and you felt like you felt seen when you were watching the show and heard because you heard a voice like yours in the show, which isn't as common on Broadway, unfortunately. What was that like, and where would you maybe like to see the industry move in that direction?
It was magical. I mean, I think having and it wasn't just her name is Joelle, and she was the original of the track that I'm doing, Fate 3, and her voice was just so like distinct, but I felt that way about everyone in the company. I thought all of these voices were just so incredibly unique and like distinct. They were just sounds that were really, really cool and different, and it felt really incredible to hear women like singing in the meat of their voices in ways that didn't feel like they felt like they were singing healthily, like they were singing
Yeah.
in a place that was sustainable for them, and that they were singing in a place where this music was really written to sound really amazing over and over and over again and not a strain.
What a
And
concept.
yeah, I know. And I also think that a good portion of that has to do with the fact that it was a woman that was writing these songs. And I've heard Aeneas say before that like she wrote these songs in the keys that she wrote them in because that's what she could sing them in and that's what felt comfortable for her. And, you know, again, what a novel idea that,
Right.
you know, sometimes people are writing things that they can't even sing themselves.
Crazy.
So that's also like a wild thing to think about. But like she was like, I'm writing what I can sing. That's what I'm writing. And you can hear that. And so it was really amazing. And I would just love to see, I mean, I've listened to so many podcasts with artists in the business talking about this, about just like diversity of people who are writing these shows. I think that that would really solve so much of the thing that we're all after,
Yeah.
because it would allow for people who have different sounds and are coming from different perspectives to write music that sounds different, and writing music for different types of voices and people who have different muses. Aeneas is a folk artist. So of course her music is going to, attract a different type of voice than what we may be used to hearing in musicals, like in contemporary musical theater right now. So I think just bringing in new people would really fix a lot of that, because I think it's all great. It's all amazing. But when it all becomes one thing, it really sucks.
I was going to say, it's like nice to actually have even just variety as an audience member. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to a Broadway show, this is what I'm going to expect. It's all going to be kind of in the same vein, which I think we are kind of seeing. It does feel like this generation of current artists are hopefully going to be the ones that can break the generational like patterns.
Totally.
I've talked to people in the ballet world even too, where it's all of these old white men who are in charge of all of this. It sometimes feels a little like, okay, well, this is how it was for me. This is how it needs to be, where it's like, actually, we have so much potential and possibility to change things, which what another cool concept. Yeah. Did you always grow up singing, or when did that start to come into your performing journey?
I sang like in church and stuff. Like I was in choirs and I did like 2 musicals in high school, but there wasn't any like intense training of any way until I graduated from college and was like, oh, I'm gonna like really go after this musical thing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I guess I do actually have to sing.
Yeah.
Dang it.
I have got to figure out like what this part of it is.
I know a lot of, myself included, a lot of dancers have such a fear of singing. Did you have that? And how did you work through that?
Absolutely, I had a fear of singing. Like, I think that's a completely normal thing. We're like trained. That's our voices, like quite literally, not even just in singing, but even speaking, like from a very young age. If you're trained in dance, you're really being trained to shut up. Like truly. In so many ways, it's like the discipline of dance is that you don't speak unless you're spoken to. And you are always responding in a very quick and polite way. And your literal speaking voice is taken away from you. It can be quite literally the most difficult thing on the planet when you grow, as you get older and people are asking you like, be yourself and come up with a perspective and all that. It is literally the hardest thing for dancers who've been trained to not do that, to try to figure out like, what is my voice? Literally, like, how do I sound? But like, what is my point of view as a dancer? Unless someone's telling me what it is. You know what I mean?
Especially that, because as you move on to being a professional, it's like that scarcity mindset that's kind of put on people. So then you're like, wait, but I don't want to say the wrong thing, or exactly. I need to be easy to work with. And I need to not that you should ever want to burn a bridge, but it's like, where is that line of like standing up for yourself, being authentic to yourself? I mean, I remember even when I was starting this and I was like, I don't even know what my authentic self is. Like I literally had to do a lot of self-reflection and like exploration and finding that for myself, because it's exactly what you said. And even like the people pleasing of it, or I'm like, I catch myself now, which I think is the first step to change, is just being aware that you have a problem. But I mean, even like the singing, it does feel, for some reason, so much more vulnerable too, even when it's not your own words. Yes. It's just like, I don't know. It's
very vulnerable. And you know what? It's also like the other thing about dancing versus singing is that with dance, we're always doing it in community with other people, and there's safety in community.
Yes.
And with singing, you are almost always doing it by yourself in an audition situation. Like you are going into the room by yourself, you are standing by yourself, and you are singing a song by yourself.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's also such an interesting concept. I mean, can you imagine having to dance by yourself? But also, I think you did have to, though, at your one audition. But
yes, but I had one other person with me. But even still, it's like I would feel, even though that'd be scary, that would feel more comfortable for me. And so that's why I think about like, singers who go into auditions, or like when you're trained as a singer actor first, you feel so much more comfortable doing that because that's a part of your training. And when you do have to dance and do the thing that you feel the most exposed and the most vulnerable doing, at least you get to do it with other people. Yes. And dancers, we don't get that. We are doing the exact opposite of that because we are trained in community, we audition in community, and then we have to go in a room by ourselves.
I literally need the energy from other people. It's kind of like when you are tapping, that's like the closest dance comparison to me too, because you can kind of like fake sometimes like a movement, but it's like singing or tapping. It's like if you hit the wrong note, like you can hear it. Like you can't
That's
really
it.
hide. So exposed to just like out, which is
totally.
it happens to the best of us. I wanted to circle back to just your beliefs and noir and the business. Your beliefs and everything we've already talked about are obviously like very, very evident in you as a person, how you carry yourself on your social media, now in your business and teaching. What inspired you to physically create that space for dancers to start to explore and fail and be uncomfortable in that way?
I think as I started to teach more, I was realizing like when I would stay after class and I'd be talking with students, like there was just such a deep yearning for more than what they could get in an open class. Myself and my friend Billy, who's like my best friend, but also I think one of the best educators, dance educators like ever. We talk about this all the time, just about, the hour and a half or the 2 hours max that you have in a class to teach sometimes 70 to 80 students, some of whom others who you've never seen before. It's really, really challenging as an educator to be able to dig in the way that I know that the students want and the way that I want. I want to be able to like get in there with you and like investigate like what's happening right now and really sort of like ask more questions and do all of that. But there isn't enough time. Also understanding the fact that like when dancers are coming to take these classes, everyone has a different goal in mind at the time. And it's expensive. Everyone's coming to try to like get what they need and leave. And so you're trying to find this like catch-all as an educator of like, what kind of class can I give that really sort of gives everyone a little taste of what they need, but it's never like in depth in any way. And so I was feeling a bit frustrated by that because I'm like, I want to have more time with you. I want to be able to give you that thing that you're looking for and like really investigate a little bit deeper, but I don't have the time to do it. And Jason, my business partner, was feeling that way as well. Not to mention the fact that for both him and I, more so me than him, like I never had any Black dance teachers growing up. I didn't have anyone who looked like me educating me or doing the thing that I wanted to be doing. And that means a lot to me. Representation means a lot to me. So the idea of being able to be that for young Black dancers, specifically for them to be able to see two people, myself and Jason, doing the thing that they want to do, to sort of give them already that step in the door of like, I can do this because they're doing this. And then also because we can provide knowledge and support for them that they may not have been able to get elsewhere. I wanted to be able to have that space and I wanted to be in control of like the space that we were providing and what we were providing and being able to really spend more time with my students and like get in depth and get to know them on a deeper level.
Which is so cool to hear you just speak about all of it too, because there are quote educators out there who maybe don't care to the level that you care, which no shade, but it's just like it's so important to recognize that there are people who like really want to give back to people and like pour in to people. And it's so true, especially once you're in that professional setting. I would argue that I'm sure like 95% of the people in those classes like are yearning for that deeper connection, would love that one-on-one time, but it's like that just not the culture that it is right now. And also people are busy. I mean, you got to run to work, you got to do this. It's just really a nice way to just bridge that gap even of like, hey, it's okay to want more and have community in that way and have mentors that can see you for who you are. What are maybe some ways that you find yourself as both in regular classes and when you're in the noir sitting that you try to encourage dancers to kind of let go and have that sense of fearlessness and fail? Because I mean, it is scary to be uncomfortable.
In the noir classes, I almost always often started with us kind of like sitting in a circle. And it was typically like we had a couple people who would come pretty frequently because last year we were doing bi-weekly classes at Give Me, but often there were new faces every time that we were seeing in class. And so I typically liked to have kind of a sit down first to not only introduce, but just to sort of like say where we're meeting you at today. Was it a tough day for you? Like where are you in your humanity right now? And I think that automatically informed for the rest of the class a genuine support that I know is always there no matter what in classes, but I think that it can be blocked by so many other things when you're going to open classes and you don't really know people. And like you said, like you're in there to do your thing and get out of there, you're busy, whatever. It just sort of drops you into the moment when you can actually connect with the people that you're sharing space with for a moment for more than just a hi.
Kind of like what in theory a lot of it is about. I mean, obviously you want to get better at your craft, but like the community we keep touching on of like that
Yes.
you're dancing with people. And I, as a student, as a professional, and I remember certain teachers that would do that. And it was intimidating. It was hard for me
Yeah.
as a person. I was like, whoa, like this is new, but it does do that. It almost like breaks that like fourth wall or whatever they
Yes.
say that it is of like,
Yes.
wait, I have to use my voice and talk about myself and be vulnerable. I feel like that is such a good way to set up a foundation, like you said, for the
Yes.
rest of the class of like, okay, this is a space to do that. And you obviously like are so good at leading by example and practicing what you preach, which I know through your social media, you had mentioned that prior to Hadestown, it was, for lack of a better word, a darker time and maybe not one of your like highest periods of life. Without having to be super specific, what causes you to get into that like internal headspace of doubt and questioning and not wanting to share? And what are ways that you kind of pull yourself out of that?
I think the main things that I was struggling with, which I think happen quite frequently, throughout your life, you have these moments of identity crisis where you're just like, what am I doing? And like, what is the point of all of this? And when you're juggling so many things and, I carry so many things with my career, but then also in my home life with my son. And there were a lot of things happening with him last year that were challenging. There were just so many things that I felt like I was carrying more than I could bear. And those are typically the moments I tend to become very, very insular when I'm struggling, because as vulnerable as I like to say that I am, I have a hard time asking people for help. I have a really hard time allowing myself to be seen, not vibrating at my highest level. When I think about it, it makes me like somewhat emotional because the just in time women were just so incredibly supportive, and they were like literally the rod in my spine in so many ways, because even though I am someone that some of them knew before I had joined the show, and they, maybe looked up to me, I carry that and I take that responsibility very, very heavily. And so I feel like I have a responsibility to be consistent. I have a responsibility to always bring the light and the joy and all of those things that they allowed me to pull the curtain. And that they gave me the space to do that, even though I know that they knew that I held the responsibility of them looking up to me and me being a leader. And I held that so strongly, but they allowed me to not be that way sometimes. And they allowed me to just cry. And they gave me the support to make me feel fully seen in the moments where I didn't really want to be seen, and I wouldn't let people see me normally.
Yeah, like we see you and we want to see you for
and like what's going on, and we love you and we support you. And it was so amazing to feel like I had that in the midst of the immense challenges that I was carrying. It was just like invaluable.
I try to articulate this to like a quote normal person that isn't ever a performer, where it's like, yes, it's your job, but just the nature of being a dancer, an actor, whoever, like we pour more of ourselves into what we're doing. So like, yes, you're at work, but it would be crazy to leave everything at the door. How do you separate the two? And it kind of made me think when you said the word consistent, because I think it is important to show up consistently and, be that positive energy in the room. Do you feel like there is a world where those can kind of start to blend a little bit more? Because it is hard to show up to a rehearsal, to whatever, and be that bubbly light person when you actually are going through some darker things. Because to me, I feel like there's a difference between doing your job, being consistent and doing what you need to do, and being that light and that person everyone's looking up to. Even when you're not in a busy season, that's a lot for one person to have to hold onto for an extended period of time.
Absolutely. It's not, I think that there is a world where yes, both of those things exist because we're human. Like we can't just be one way. We're not AI, thank
Literally.
God we're not.
Thank God.
And thank God that we have nuance to emotion and that so many things can exist at the same time. And I think like we're all doing ourselves a disservice to not acknowledge that. Now, work is work, right? So there are responsibilities that we have at work that if you feel like you cannot uphold your responsibilities because of what you're going through, then you need to make a choice to not be at
Mhm.
work. And that sometimes I had to make that choice because of the things that I was experiencing. But I think maturity is understanding when you can and when you can't. And when you can, it doesn't mean that you're like becoming this like shell of a human being and that you're masking completely what you're experiencing. But like I know I'm capable of showing up. I know that I'm capable of maintaining an energy that doesn't feel like it's impacting anybody else negatively. And then I'm gonna, do my job. At this point in my life, I'm very aware of those lines for myself
Yeah.
of where when I'm hitting a wall that I can't overcome and when I feel like, oh, I'm actually okay and I know that I can leave this at the door while I'm doing my job,
Well,
you
and
know.
even when you are going through something, those things that are heavier, was it easier kind of feeling like when you were able to, I don't want to say put it on people in the cast, but like you have some other women around you, people around you who are like kind of holding you a little bit, where it's like, oh, I actually can maybe show up even better than I thought I could because you're not putting it on them again, but they're just like being a teammate and helping you,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. And I feel so fortunate that throughout my entire career, I have been in dressing rooms with women who have carried me in unimaginable ways. Like every single show that I've been in,
That
every
is a
single
blessing.
dressing room, just full of some of the most incredible human beings on the planet. And yes, that is 100% true. Like even on those days when you're like, I don't know if I can do it, allowing the people that are in space with you to support you if they have the space to do so is like the most special thing. The camaraderie of that is just it's unlike anything else that I think is very
Yeah.
particular to being a performing artist when when you have to share that intimate space like a dressing room with other
Yeah,
people.
for sure. Do you feel like it took you a little bit of time to find the line of dumping onto people and being like, okay, how do you kind of gauge what people can handle?
I learned that one. I'll never forget in Aladdin, in my dressing room in Aladdin, which most of those women to this day are still some of my dearest friends. But I was young and, going through the things and just again thinking everything was about me. I would come into the dressing room and these like fits and just be like, oh, and like not even considering the vibe of the room or really anything. And I remembered that one night we were all staying afterwards and a few of them talked to me about it. And they were like, Khori, you are sharing space with people and you are responsible for that. Like you have to be responsible for the energy that you're bringing into a space and you need to be able to read the room. And right now you're not very good at reading the room. And I thank God I had those women that were honest enough with me to tell me that versus talking about me behind my back.
Literally, no, I'm low key kind of shocked.
That's amazing.
We all know, like, whether it's in a dressing room situation or not, we all know a person where you're like, dude, read the room,
Please.
even like in real life too. And you're like,
Yes,
okay, you really just said that. That is kind because also not every person I think could receive that.
totally.
So I think it was probably also says, even in your fit stage, it says a lot about you that they were like, no, like she can handle this because there's some people where you're like, I think they would not be able to like handle that right now. Wow, I wasn't expecting that story. I love that. We touched on this showing up authentically, and there's just no doubt that you are able to do that within reason. I know you're like, I want to sometimes show more, but I also believe, especially online, showing the scars and not the wounds, where it's,
Mm,
like the whole kind of
mhm,
like reading the room in a dressing room, not like
mhm.
trauma dumping, but
Yes,
sharing.
exactly.
Why is that concept so important to you, and what impact are you hoping to make from being a leader in that way?
It's so important to me because there are just so many different sides to an experience. And I think that in the age of, I feel very fortunate as a millennial to have had part of my life without the internet and social media, and then to have also had it because I see the benefits of it and I see how
Mhm.
incredible it can be. But I think that in the age of social media being something that is the prominent source of communication between young people when your brains are still developing and you literally don't have a frontal lobe, I think that it can be really scary to watch young people just make declarations about truths based off of what they're seeing on social media. And they move about their lives as if these things are certified truths without nuance, without dynamic, without any sort of other option. They're just like, this person's life is perfect because of this. And they make up their mind in that way.
Yeah.
And then they operate their lives based off of that, or they allow themselves to judge themselves based off of that. And I have really tried to make it my mission, especially as I feel like I've become more visible. And I think that there are a lot of young people who are looking to me and seeing what I'm experiencing and doing and wanting to sort of emulate the path that I've made. I never want to display to them that there is not nuance to that experience, and that there is not difficulties that come with it, and that I am also not working my butt off, because I think that sometimes it can seem as if some people are just falling into these experiences because of whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, I think some people assume at this point. I've had students be like, do you even audition anymore? I'm like, girl, yeah. Absolutely. I've never just like gotten an offer for something. I'm always
Could you imagine that?
I mean, I think some people think like you get to a certain level and they assume that like that's how it goes, and it doesn't go that way. And so I feel like it's just really important to me to make sure that for my own personal journey that I'm never displaying anything as if it were just an easy experience. And I think that it's important for young people to see someone that they're looking up to grapple with things, to normalize it, and to not make it feel like it's something that they are unusual for experiencing, or that like, it's weird that they made their Broadway debut and now they're confused about what's next, or that, just like the many complexities that can come with success, because it isn't just one thing. And motherhood isn't just one thing, having a partner isn't just one thing. Like all of these things have facets to them. And so it's really important to me to share that. And I hope that, my biggest goal is for that to impact young people in a way that inspires them and that makes them feel empowered in the complicated feelings that can arise with being a artist, and that they don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And there were many times when I was coming up where I felt very alone and I felt like I was the only one experiencing something. So I have made it my mission and my goal to make sure that no one who's in space with me at any point ever feels like they're by themselves in any feeling that they feel.
And I think exactly what you said, the expectations are huge too. And I think that can also be hard if you are a younger person and you are only seeing the good and none of the nuance, none of the struggle. It changes your experience even, let alone all the other negative things that happen with it. But it's just like you said, I was supposed to feel this way because we're assuming that people are feeling certain ways. So I think that part is really, really beautiful and important. And I think especially you as someone who is such a force and leader in the industry, I hope it also inspires other people in your position to be the ones that are able to start those conversations and make it a space to where it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to have tough times, tough days. Like God forbid we have a hard day, and finding that line. Cause I think it'd be easier leaning on people if it was more of the culture to actually talk about those things, because they got to be easy to work with and a good time. But
Yes.
There's hope. There's hope for the future.
I think so.
Oh my gosh, Khori, so many amazing things. I'm going to get into my last two questions I ask everyone.
Yes.
Hindsight's 2020, but if you could go back and tell younger Khori one piece of advice, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that, it's very cliche, but literally everything that you are experiencing is for a reason. And in the moments when you feel the most confused and the most lost, those are the moments that are defining. And you will often refer back to those moments as you continue to grow as defining moments in your life that you wouldn't have been able to get to the place that you are now without. So just really lean into every experience that you have and soak it up.
Good, the bad, the ugly. I love it. If you had one key takeaway that listeners do not forget and remember from this conversation, what would it be?
I would say the biggest thing I would want for you to take away is that this is not a dress rehearsal. Everything that our life right now, as far as I know, this is the one we get. And so from every angle, whether you're taking a dance class or you're considering going after something that scares you, do it, go for it. Let yourself look silly. Don't be afraid to fail. Just go after the things that you want, because we only get one shot at this. And I genuinely believe that when you continue to live your life in that way, and you continue to allow yourself to just be curious and to fail forward, all of the right things fall into place for you, and oftentimes in ways that are wilder than you could have dreamed.
Fail forward. Put that on a t-shirt. I love that. I'm going to link everything in the show notes, all the things. Where can people pull out their phones right now and follow you on Instagram, all the places?
My Instagram and my TikTok are at KMR8787. And then I also have a Substack under Khori Michelle Petinaud.
I just subscribed.
Yes! I'm starting to write essays.
Thank you so much for spending time. And you guys like, subscribe, comment, follow Khori, and we will kick it with you next time.